He paid his credit card bill every single month, on time, without fail. So why did he still owe more than he started with, 9 years later? Marcus Reed never missed a payment. Not once. Every month, like clockwork, he logged in, saw the minimum due, and paid it. To him, that was what responsible looked like. He and Danielle had a good life on paper. A small apartment, a 4-year-old daughter who thought he could fix anything, a steady job he'd worked his way up in for 6 years. It started small. A $600 emergency car repair, a laptop for Danielle's night classes, a few grocery runs during a rough month. Nothing dramatic, just normal life, paid for with plastic, one swipe at a time. The first statement came, $2,100 balance. Minimum due, $52. Marcus paid it. Easy. He didn't look at the interest rate. He didn't need to. The payment was small, and the relief was instant. But the balance did. Every month, a little higher. New purchases stacked on top of interest that never fully left. He told himself it was temporary. Everyone carries a little debt, right? 2 years passed. The $2,100 was now $4,800. He was still paying the minimum, now $140, and still telling himself he was doing fine because the payment was manageable. Here's what Marcus didn't understand, and what almost nobody explains clearly. A credit card's minimum payment isn't designed to pay off your debt. It's designed to keep the account in good standing while the interest on your remaining balance keeps compounding, recalculating against you every single month. Here's the part that actually matters. Credit cards come with a grace period, meaning if you pay your entire statement balance in full each month, you pay 0 interest on new purchases. The card becomes a free short-term tool. The moment a balance is carried, that grace period disappears. The correct approach isn't never use credit. It's this: pay more than the minimum. Ideally, the full balance. If that's not possible, pay as much above the minimum as you can, consistently, and stop adding new charges until the balance is under control. Marcus didn't know this, so the cycle continued. Year 4, the balance crossed $7,000. Danielle started noticing the tension, the way Marcus got quiet around bill day, the way "we're fine" started sounding rehearsed. Year 6, a second card entered the picture. Open to consolidate, but really just spreading the same problem across 2 accounts. The minimum payments now took a real bite out of each paycheck. Ray, his coworker, mentioned an upcoming trip with his own family. Offhand, cheerful. Marcus laughed along and said nothing. The shame had become its own weight, heavier some days than the debt itself. By year 8, the numbers stopped making sense to Marcus. He'd paid, by his own rough math, well over $9,000 across both cards since it all started. The combined balance still sat above $9,000. One night at the kitchen table, laptop glowing blue in the dark, Danielle finally asked the question he'd been avoiding. Marcus, how bad is it really? He finally told her everything. Not because he wanted to, because he couldn't carry it alone anymore. Together, they sat down with a financial counselor who didn't lecture. He simply showed them exactly where the money had been going for 9 years, mostly interest, month after month. Then he showed them the fix, not a trick, not a shortcut, a plan. Which card's higher interest rate to attack first, how much above the minimum they needed to pay to actually move the principal, and a firm rule: no new charges until the balances came down. It wasn't instant. It took disciplined months, not days. But for the first time in 9 years, the number on the statement started shrinking instead of just shifting. Marcus finally understood. The card was never the enemy. He just never knew how to use it. Once he did, it became exactly what it was supposed to be. A tool, not a trap. At first, it didn't feel like debt. It felt like breathing room, a little relief every time something unexpected came up. He didn't check the interest rate printed at the bottom of the statement. Almost nobody does. Danielle started keeping her own quiet tally. Not out of suspicion, just instinct. Something felt off, even if she couldn't name it yet. Bill day became a mood in the house. Quiet, careful, like walking around something fragile. Marcus started picking up extra shifts at the warehouse, telling himself it was ambition, not survival. More hours meant more paychecks, but also less time with Sophia, less time with Danielle, and more silence between them. One night, Sophia asked why Daddy was always tired. Marcus didn't have a good answer. The second card statement arrived the same week. 2 minimum payments now. 2 interest charges quietly stacking. He did the math in his head, quickly, and then stopped, because the number scared him more than not knowing did. Danielle picked up a few extra hours at the daycare too, without saying why. Neither of them said the word debt out loud. At work, Ray kept inviting Marcus to things. Cookouts, game nights, a weekend trip. Marcus always had an excuse ready. The truth was simpler than any excuse. Marcus was embarrassed. Not of the debt itself, of not understanding how he'd gotten there. By year 8, the number felt less like debt and more like a weight he'd been carrying so long, he forgot it wasn't normal. He'd paid thousands of dollars, faithfully, into a cycle he never fully understood, and it hadn't moved him forward an inch. That was the night Danielle found him still sitting there at 1 a.m., the laptop long since gone dark. She sat down across from him, the way she had 100 times before. Except this time, she didn't look away. "Marcus, how bad is it really?" she asked again, softer this time. And for the first time in 9 years, he didn't deflect. He opened the laptop back up, not to hide the number this time, but to show her. They didn't fix anything that night, but for the first time, they were looking at it together instead of alone. The next week, they made an appointment with a financial counselor at their credit union, something Marcus had avoided for years, half believing it would feel like a lecture. The counselor didn't scold them. He just asked to see the statements and started explaining, calmly, where every dollar had actually gone. For 9 years, Marcus thought he was paying down debt. In reality, most of it had been paying down interest, nothing more. "This isn't about willpower," the counselor told them. "It's about understanding exactly how the tool works, then using it that way." He laid out a plan. Tackle the higher interest card first, pay well above the minimum on it every month, and freeze all new spending on both cards. It wasn't complicated. It was just something nobody had ever sat down and explained to Marcus before. They left with something they hadn't had in years, an actual plan, and a number that was finally supposed to go down. Month 1 was hard. No takeout, no new charges. Every extra dollar went straight at the higher interest card. Danielle picked up a couponing app instead of extra shifts, and together, they started treating every dollar like it had a job to do. Month 3, the higher interest card's balance dropped for the first time in years. Not by much, but it dropped. It was the smallest number he'd seen in almost a decade, and it felt bigger than any raise he'd ever gotten. Month 6, they hit their first real milestone. The higher interest card was paid off completely. They didn't throw a party. They just sat together that night, quietly proud, letting it sink in. One card down, one to go. But for the first time, the finish line actually felt real. They kept the same discipline going. No new charges, extra payments every month, now aimed at the second card. Some months were harder than others, but they never went back to old habits, because now they understood exactly why it mattered. Sophia started noticing her dad smiled more. She didn't know why. She just knew home felt lighter. Danielle didn't need the extra daycare hours anymore. She picked up a hobby again instead, something just for her. Month 11. The second card's balance was finally under $1,000, lower than it had been in almost a decade. For the first time since he was 20, Marcus didn't feel like he was carrying something invisible on his back. 1 year after that first honest conversation at the kitchen table, the second card was paid off too. No debt, no more silent bill days, just a plan that actually worked once they finally understood it. Marcus still uses that same credit card today. The difference is, now he pays the full balance every single month, and it costs him nothing. The card was never the enemy. It never had been. He just spent 9 years using a tool without ever being taught how it actually worked. Now he knows. And that one piece of knowledge changed everything that came after it. If there's one thing Marcus wishes someone had told him 9 years earlier, it's this. Here's the truth almost nobody tells you. Your credit card's minimum payment isn't a plan. It's just enough to keep the account open while interest keeps working against you. Pay your full statement balance whenever you can, and you'll never pay a cent of interest. If you can't pay it all, pay as far above the minimum as possible, and watch that number actually start to move. If this story changed the way you see your credit card, subscribe to Economic Mystery Files. Every week, we uncover the hidden stories, psychology, and decisions behind money, helping you make smarter financial choices and make your money work for you, not against you. Follow the money, find the truth.